Hello everyone, I'm Maria Heller and I'm very excited for today's video. As you may know, I'm a designer and small business owner. In this video, you're going to see how I designed a corset intended to be made out of custom printed fabric, and the print I chose is a classical painting. I really hope you'll enjoy watching me bring this project to life. I've been dreaming of making clothing with artwork printed on the fabric for a very long time, and I finally made it happen. As a formally trained artist, I wanted to first show my love of art and history by incorporating beloved artworks into my creations, and then, maybe later, print my own art on fabric and make garments out of it. I have been working on this design for a few months now, and I named this new corset Sophia. It's going to come in 4 print options, and each option is going to be named after the painting. I'm going to go in more detail about the process of printing the fabric in my next video. It goes without saying that it was very hard for me to narrow down all my favorite artworks from the whole history of art to a few images, but I managed to pick 4 paintings to start with. In this video, you're going to see the first 2 of them come to life. First, I flipped through my own personal art albums. There is just something so beautiful and ethereal about Art Nouveau, so I picked this lady, painted by Muha. After I picked the first painting, I went ahead and started with the pattern of the corset. I always make my patterns on paper, drawing them by hand. I then made a mock-up corset to test the pattern. Once I tested my new pattern, I photographed it and imported it in Photoshop. I then made a frame in Photoshop with the corset pattern as a cutout to be able to check how the composition of the artwork will look on the final pattern piece of the corset. I made sure to only choose appropriate paintings that would look well cropped and put on a corset. If you saw any of my other videos or if you know my corsets, you will see that this new design is very similar to my previous ones, but I adapted it to make best use of the custom fabric. My other corsets lace up in the front, but for this design I chose to have a closed front, made from just one piece of fabric to better showcase the painting. The corset is adjustable, having my signature adjustable panels on the sides, and it opens at the back with eyelets. And here she is. Actually getting from pattern piece to actual tangible fabric was a much more complicated tale, spanning over weeks of frustration and back and forth emailing with 3 different printing companies, but alas, here she is in all her glory. I transferred my pattern on a thick cardboard, and I made the same thing I did in Photoshop, make a frame where the pattern piece itself is a cutout, so that I could see how the composition of the artwork will look on the corset. I made multiple videos on my channels that go into more depth in how I make my corsets step by step, so I'm not going to focus on that in this video. Here I will just show you what I do differently for this project. I don't want this to be a step-by-step tutorial, but it's important for me to show you that I did way more work for these corsets than simply paying someone to print this fabric for me. The printed panels are just big enough to cut the front piece of the corset and the 2 straps. The reason why it took me years to make my own printed fabric is the fact that high-quality, resistant fabric printing is prohibitively expensive. And the companies that print digitally on fabric have a minimum threshold of meters they will print. You can't just ask them to print you 1 meter. After years of owning this small business, I finally feel brave enough to make such a big investment and launch this painterly first collection. If all goes well, I plan on making many more collections like this. After Wana magically puts the corset together, I get the pattern out and I mark out the location of the boning channels. I draw the boning channels on the front piece by hand on each and every corset, and then, using appropriate colored thread, I sew them. It's such a funny feeling sewing over someone's face. When you are making boning channels that crisscross or intersect on the garment, it's important not to sew them shut, so you can actually insert the boning into them. Also, please keep in mind that the stock is very limited for each corset, and I don't plan on restocking a print once it sells out. And this is the second painting I chose, Lady Shallot by Waterhouse, coming out of the digital printer. So the corset style is named Sophia, but I'm going to need to name each different print so as to differentiate between them. So the first one that you saw will be named Muha, the second Lady Shallot, and in my next video I will show you the other two paintings I chose, a Bogorel and another Waterhouse. And now the reveal. Please let me know which corset you liked best, Muha or Lady Shallot. It was very difficult for Juan and I to choose just 4 paintings from the entirety of art history. So after these 4 run out, I want to print other paintings. If you want to know more about that, I would advise you to join my Patreon. My patrons helped me choose the paintings, and they knew it weeks in advance about these corsets, so they could save up or pre-order their favorite. They also see behind the scenes, before and afters of my photo shoots and so on. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video. Bye!